Good evening. I'm Soraya Mia and you're watching AWANI Tonight. The Fire and Rescue Department identifies 406 hotspots in danger of hot weather across the country via satellite. The areas included Mukah and Miri in Sarawak, Dungun and Kemaman in Terengganu, Kuantan and Pahang, Pasir Mas and Bachok in Kelantan, and the Kuala Langat North Forest Reserve in Selangor. According to Fire and Rescue Operations Director Ahmad Irzam Osman, a Level 1 hot weather status was also detected in two areas, namely Padang Terap in Kedah and Jempol in Negeri Sembilan. Residents in affected areas have been reminded to be alert as the maximum daily temperature has reached 35 to 37 degrees Celsius for 3 consecutive days. He assured that periodic monitoring either through patrols or aerial surveys using helicopters or drones was being carried out with the Forestry and Environment departments to ensure the situation remained under control. Ahmad Irzam also said that there have been 4,106 cases of open burning recorded up till the end of March. The number, he said, is expected to increase following the hot weather forecast until August, compared to 9,500 cases recorded last year. Meanwhile, Maktab Rendah Sains Mara MRSM Kota Kinabalu has been renamed after former Chief Minister Tan Sri Musa Aman. Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Ahmad Zahid Hamidi said 2 other MRSM will also be named after former state leaders as a recognition of their works and contributions.
MRSM Tan Sri Musa Aman untuk MRSM Kota Kinabalu ini. Dan saya telah memberikan peruntukan sebanyak 250,000 bagi maintenance cost dan juga menaikkan taraf beberapa kemudahan di MRSM Tan Sri Musa Aman ini. Terdapat 2 lagi MRSM yang belum saya letakkan nama dan saya akan umumkan, iaitu MRSM Ranau dan MRSM Sembruna. Apabila saya berada di kedua-dua tempat ini, saya akan umumkan nama-nama berkenaan.
The proposal to establish a Borneo Aviation Authority for Sabah and Sarawak should be brought to the cabinet, according to Zahid Hamidi. He said the matter should be handled and followed up by the minister in charge of Sabah and Sarawak affairs, Dato' Armizan Muhammad Ali. The proposal was made by Sabah Deputy Chief Minister Datuk Sri Dr. Jeffrey Kitingan amid high prices of air tickets faced by those in Sabah and Sarawak, especially during festive and holiday seasons. Zahid said efforts are being made to look into the issue. He said the Transport Ministry is also having negotiations with airline companies on whether it was possible not to take supply and demand reasonings and incorporate an element of corporate social responsibility in setting up airfares. In other news, the Kuala Lumpur City Hall DBKL said works are being carried out to ensure safety of the people at the location where a retaining wall collapsed at Wisma YPR in Taman Seputeh. The tragic incident, which left 1 man dead, occurred at a private-owned premise earlier this morning. According to a spokesperson from DBKL, measures were taken to stabilize the soil that led to the collapse. Aside from that, a canvas was also added to the area to avoid the incident from reoccurring. According to Works Minister Datuk Sri Alexander Nantalingi, the incident happened when the 6-meter-high retaining wall collapsed on a guard post, causing the security guard to be buried in the rubble. Despite the area being under the purview of DBKL, Alexander also offered any assistance from his ministry if needed. While the use of artificial intelligence (AI) is more widespread among big corporations, small and medium enterprises still lag behind its adoption. Dato' William Ng, chairperson of Small and Medium Enterprises Association Samenta, discusses the payoffs for SMEs to invest in AI and how they can leverage its capabilities.
The reality is that for many SMEs, the problem we are facing today is not so much, the lack of financing, but more because of the issue of low profit margin due to poor productivity. And I think the best way to actually overcome that issue is really to make use of technology. Of course, we need to digitalize, and of course, then we can also adopt AI. If you really understand, many of our SMEs are still doing a lot of repetitive work. That's why we have no choice but to hire workers to process all this repetitive work. While I think the pandemic has forced many of us to digitalize, I think we are now seeing almost everyone adopting some form of digitalization. So I think naturally the next step is really to incorporate AI and machine learning into operation so that we can focus our energy as business owners on strategic matters, like dealing with relationships with our customers, employees, and so on.
William, however, acknowledges the challenges faced by SMEs to adopt AI into their work processes.
For many SMEs, we do not have the know-how, perhaps even the resources in terms of investment to invest into expensive AI. So what is important, therefore, for a lot of vendors, for the software developers themselves, and it's already happening, as we speak, all the regular softwares already have some form of AI being incorporated into their software. So it is just a matter of us waiting out, making sure that some of these software developers incorporate AI element into their software that the SMEs are already familiar with. So then the issue of know-how, knowing how to use them becomes moot. At the same time, the cost is something that the SMEs can better understand. So I think it is all a matter of how we take AI, put it into a scenario that the SMEs are already familiar with, so that the word AI itself does not become alien to the SMEs.
It's clear that AI is here to stay. Samantha's Dato' William Ng says SMEs have no choice but to embrace digitalization and to prepare AI adoption in order to remain relevant in the current landscape.
I think absolutely AI is already replacing jobs. People are saying that, with ChatGPT, writers and perhaps even journalists are no longer needed. And then you have this design AI, right, like Midjourney, and then people are saying that you no longer need designers. And it's not just jobs. I think entire businesses and industries can be wiped out, as AI become more stable and more localized to Malaysia. And I think this is not new. Remember when we were much younger, every manager has a secretary. But today you hardly find any secretaries around because most of the work has already been automated. So I think what this means for businesses, especially SMEs, is we must brace to be severely disrupted. We must be prepared that what we are doing now may no longer be needed, or that we must be selling certain things that are no longer necessary now, that we have to pivot and change what we are selling and offering in view of AI. I think that is very important. I know there's been a lot of discussion lately whether AI is actually a friend or an enemy, whether one day it will be controlled by some AI villain or something. But the reality is that I think AI is here to stay. And as business owners, we absolutely need to prepare for it. And as a society, we need to also prepare our next generation for it. There's simply no two way about this.
Time for a quick break. We'll be right back.
What's the latest scoop when it comes to companies, markets, and strategies? For everything business and tech related, catch Notepad with me, Ibrahim Sani, weekdays 10:30 p.m. across all AWANI platforms.
Mental health issues have become more prevalent among youths and adolescents in Malaysia. According to Kogilavani Muniandi from Good Kids, with the rise of social media, younger generations are becoming more exposed to expectations of a false reality portrayed by many online.
The disparity between lived reality and perceptions or aspiration for the future based on what you see in social media. You see a lot of people posting up, perfect life. This is how my life is, this is what I do day to day. And a person who is not even close to that, watching that on social media and aspires to be that, but does not have the means to actually reach that aspiration. Not because, of anything, it's because they don't have the financial capacity, they are youth, they are supposed to be studying, but their parents can't provide enough. They probably come from lower socioeconomic background. So because of this disparity, that actually causes a lot of stress for them, and unaddressed, the stress can actually cause anxiety and depression.
Kogilavani said the first step to tackling mental health is awareness.
Number one, you can break the stigma because there is a negative attitude now towards mental health problems. People don't want to speak about it. People don't want to say they need help. And the moment that they know someone has mental health issue, they ostracize them instead of helping them, right? So there is delay in seeking help. And they don't support each other, and they also feel embarrassed to talk about this. Okay, so we need to normalize asking for help.
She also urged for a syllabus on mental health to be introduced in mainstream schools.
What are the basic coping skills that I can do as a student for myself? And what are the signs that I can see in myself or my friends that I can highlight to a counselor? Right? So how do I validate an information, whether this is good information, like proper, professionally approved information, or this is just something viral that's going on social media, right? Don't follow influencers, follow professionals, right? So these are the things that should be included in the syllabus. And what we suggest is probably, this is a long shot, but to make this like an induction program for all the students who come into Form 1 in public school.
On to foreign news. U.S. police have arrested a former Coast Guardsman suspected of killing one person and wounding 4 women in a shooting at a medical building in Atlanta. The suspect earlier managed to escape after carjacking a vehicle and fleeing the scene. Police said the gunman, identified as Dion Patterson, 24, was taken into custody after an undercover officer spotted him north of the city in suburban Cobb County several hours after the shooting at the Northside Medical Facility. Atlanta Mayor Andre Dickens lauded the efforts of police officers for managing to capture the suspect.
Thanks to our strong partnership with Cobb County Police Department, law enforcement have taken the suspect into custody. Thanks to the highly trained police officers across our region, we are able to bring this suspect into custody without further harm. He will be charged and stand trial for his crimes. Not only did law enforcement bring this man into custody, they also kept our community safe.
Meanwhile, police said the woman who died was 39, while the 4 wounded women ranged in age from 25 to 71. The motive for the shooting and whether the suspect knew or targeted any of the victims has yet to be determined. In other news, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky arrived at the International Criminal Court (ICC) in The Hague, Netherlands on Thursday. In a speech, he called for the establishment of a war tribunal to hold what he calls Russia's crimes of aggression to account.
Of course, we all want to see different Vladimir here in The Hague. The one who deserves to be sentenced for these criminal actions right here in the capital of the international law. And I'm sure we will see that happen when we win.
Zelensky accused Russia of 6,000 war crimes in April alone, leading to the deaths of 207 Ukrainian civilians, including 11 children. He also listed other alleged war crimes by Russia, including the millions of strikes in the Donbas regions. Zelensky's visit to the Netherlands came a day after Moscow accused Kiev of a drone attack on the Kremlin. Kiev confirmed that Zelensky will meet with the leadership of the ICC and the Dutch PM. The U.S. and the Philippines have agreed on new guidelines for its mutual defense treaty, referring specifically to attacks in the South China Sea, including on their Coast Guard. This comes at a time of increased maritime confrontation between Philippines and China, and a renewed push from Manila to make clear the conditions under which Washington would come to its defense.
Economic cooperation.
The 6-page bilateral defense guidelines agreed in Washington on Wednesday were a first since the treaty was signed in 1951. The move follows a series of Philippine diplomatic protests in the past year over what it calls China's aggressive actions and threats against its Coast Guard. The guidelines said the bilateral treaty commitments would be invoked if either it's attacked specifically in the South China Sea and also if Coast Guard vessels were the target. It was also updated to include references to modern forms of warfare, including gray zone tactics which China is accused of using to assert its claims to sovereignty. China's foreign ministry responded to the news by saying it opposed to any country citing bilateral treaties to interfere in the South China Sea, adding that the area is home to all regional countries and should not be a hunting ground for external forces. That wraps up AWANI tonight. Thanks for watching. I'm Soraya Mia, and we'll see you soon.